Yeah, I think we can start.
Yeah, I think we can start. I did put only one item on today's agenda. That was this Thursday. There's a community meeting, so we need to provide a SIG update, which might probably be an update about the 3 sub projects that we are running. So I can provide. So Quinton, I guess, signed up to. Am I right, Quinton, that you would be giving up that update in the community meeting? So I can provide.
I don't mind who does it actually. I just replied. They asked me because I was listed as the SIG lead, and I said yes, we can do it. I don't mind doing it, but it might be useful for somebody else perhaps to give the update.
Yeah. So last time I remember, I think this cycle for our SIG comes in 3 or 4 months. I'm not sure exactly what's the timeline, but last time around, I guess Christian might have given that update.
If I remember correctly, I think I might have given it, but I might.
Yeah, I mean, either of you, I'm not sure what was the timeline. So
yeah, if I'm, maybe you're in a good position to do it. If you have, but I know it's at an awkward, it's probably at an inconvenient time for you. So
yeah, that's the only issue with me. Otherwise, okay, I would kind of.
Yeah.
So I can provide you on, or you probably already know about what's going on in Federation. I can sync up with you maybe today or tomorrow, sometime later.
Sounds good.
For the Federation update, but for kubemci and cluster registry, I guess we'll have to either, I mean, if somebody is representing either of those projects in today's meeting.
Yeah, I was hoping to get that update here today. I don't see anyone here from Google. Is anyone online from Google here? No. Is anybody able to give an update on kubemci project or cluster registry? If not, I'll just go and dig through the repositories and see what's going on there. I'm not aware of any major work going on in either of those projects at the moment, but I'll go and verify that in the repositories.
I mean, depending on the last time that there was an update indicating to the community the status of cluster registry as a CRD is probably the main thing.
Okay, yeah, I'll go through these notes and the repositories. I agree with you. I don't think I have access to the kubemci repo. I think that was in the Google Cloud repository somewhere. So I might have to dig around to find that. But yeah, I'll figure it out. If necessary, I'll just ping the other guys who may not have made the meeting that might be available to provide comments offline.
Yeah, I think Quinton, for cluster registry, I think the main things, as Maru was saying, is the CRD-based work, and also making the cluster registry namespace scoped, and the introduction of a new kind of canonical namespace to store those sort of namespaced but globally defined clusters. And that's like think Kube Multicluster public.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know that we need to go into that level of detail. This is just like a 5-minute update, a couple of minutes of which is just telling everybody who we are and what we do, and then giving a very, very, very brief status on the projects. But yeah, I don't think we need to go into the level of detail of namespaces and things.
Okay, moving ahead, I did not have any other item on today's agenda, except what we generally do is, if we do not have any other item, one of the representatives from the project might provide the update of that particular project. I see that there is nobody from Google in today's meeting. They would generally provide update about kubemci and cluster registry. Cluster registry, I guess Ivan can also just update. I think you already did. We can, for the benefit of the folks who are in this meeting, we can provide some update about Federation V2, where we have some achievements. So Ivan, do you want to talk further about cluster registry, or that was it?
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty much it. the cluster registry, the latest version includes the CRD, but there is no validation for some of those fields yet. That's something that we'll probably look at addressing in the future. But aside from that, it's just the CRD-based work along with the namespace scoped cluster registry. So clusters are now namespace scoped, and for the canonical namespace, it's I believe cube-multicluster-public, and that'll be kind of a way of storing global clusters in a namespace scoped fashion. Those are the main updates.
Okay. Does anybody want to go further with the Federation V2 update? Ivan, Maru, I was basically just writing.
Alpha.
Yeah. So, yeah, go ahead, Maru, please.
I mean, I guess users could actually kick the tires on. So the code release is done, the blog post is to come, and hopefully interested parties will feel empowered to go out and deploy some code and see if it works for them and complain loudly if it doesn't, so we can address those concerns. And I don't know, that's all for me. It's just a high level. If individuals who've worked on specific stuff want to highlight that work, please feel free.
Yeah, is it useful, like going in detail of each of the features? I'm not sure.
No, I think it's perhaps sufficient to say that we have feature parity with V1 at this point, give or take some minor discrepancies, and a more modular design, so it's much easier to kind of play around with different approaches rather than having to rewrite entire controllers. I would assume that's the high-level summary most people would be interested in. I think it might also be useful to just have a quick look at the future work that we started looking at this week. Irfan, do you want to maybe just put up the document we produced yesterday and just...
Yeah, I can do that. 1 minute, I'll share my screen.
Up on what's happening in the future.
Before we do that, Quentin, in the update to the community, I think it might be worth highlighting also the pretty substantial change in deployment semantics for Federation V2, that we're using CRDs and we don't require etcd, or like a separate etcd.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I'm good with.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That was certainly a point of friction in the past, was having to deploy it. Well, I guess you do still have a Federation control plane. It's just the API server that is, you don't have a separate API server, and you don't have a separate etcd.
Yeah. And yeah, so that point, and also I guess just highlighting that it's possible to federate resources without code and to federate CRDs kind of as part of that. Because previously it was always a lot of work to federate anything, and now, at least for the trivial case, it is actually trivial.
Yeah, that I agree is an important point. I'll bring that up. And if any of you want to attend the community meeting tomorrow, you're welcome to, and chime in. You know, I'm not trying to get any kind of exclusivity or anything on this. I'd be, I'm just doing my duty as the SIG lead.
Appreciate it. That's all for me. If you want to proceed with highlighting the feature.
One minute, I'll just open the notes from the work group and share my screen. Okay, I believe the screen would be visible now. And what we did, like as the last exercise after cutting out the alpha release, we did a little bit of brainstorming as the next work items that as a work group we might be focusing on. So you can probably see the list of those items with some high level priority or rough priority that we are trying to assign to each of those items. And currently the two major stakeholders um, who are participating in this effort are Huawei and Red Hat. So there is an interest per feature also depicted in each of the feature. So I'll quickly go through the list. So what one of the goals for Huawei was achieving feature parity with Federation V1. So as Quinton mentioned, that there is some discrepancy. We do not have the high-level job scheduling and HPA scheduling, which actually exists in V1 in the alpha release. We are actively working on that, and very soon we'll have that also. Apart from that, the features that we probably need to either design, brainstorm, and implement further. There is these are not necessarily in correct order of priority. They are listed as is. So these notes are public also. So and they are available as a link in the multi-cluster SIG meeting notes. So they can be referred post this meeting also.
Maybe
I'll just quickly
link in the chat. Maybe just
Maru,
put it in the chat.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Maru, your sound is
yeah, I am having difficulty listening to Maru. So I did put a link to the notes in the chat also. So there is one item that we think is interesting, important for us. That is currently we have placement, which is per resource, placement resource. For example, if there is a federated secret, we have a federated placement resource, and there is a list of clusters specified in that. We envisage that that is too much of work for a user. So there are multiple items on that. So there is one which is namespace based placement. So a placement resource can be applied to a namespace, and whichever resource exists within that namespace can be placed in the clusters which correspond to that placement for a namespace. The one which is the item currently highlighted on your screen is a label selector based placement. So rather than specifying the list of clusters, user could actually specify a selector label on multiple resources, which can then map to a single placement resource. So this is like a little bit of abstraction provided to the user. There is one feature about co-location affinity or anti-affinity, which I'll skip that for now. It might confuse a little bit. So namespace-based placement we did talk about. Federated status, a lot of people actually have shown interest in federated status. So for each KTS resource, there is a federated resource, and there is this demand as to how exactly the status of the KTS resources be depicted in federation, and the status of the federated resource shown to the user. So this is about that. So the next item is about auth. So auth also has different takes. So one is first level of auth is how a particular user needs to be authenticated to the federation control plane, which after the API server getting installed as a CRD becomes a no-brainer, like it's the same as the KTS API server authorization. The second is whatever clusters are joining to this federation, what user impersonation should happen for those clusters. Like a user could have a limited access to a cluster where the control plane, federation control plane is installed, but might want or might need a different level of access to the clusters which are part of this federation. So these two features are listed as part of that. Rolling update of a federated workload would be, it is similar to a rolling update of a deployment. So deployment needs to update pods which are part of the deployment. Similar to that, we can envisage that a federated resource basically has resources, or the K8s resources created in individual federated clusters. So a rolling update of a federated resource would be updating those individual resources in each cluster in a similar fashion. And if say one by one or in parallel, those kind of things might be the strategies of that update. We have also talked about a usability layer over Federation API, which is one way of making it simplified for the user to use Federation. And the second is to provide some level of compatibility with the K8s API. Next couple of items are we have federated ingress. So earlier in Federation V1, federated ingress was something which was a slightly specific implementation for GC clusters. Ingress basically worked in GC clusters. We don't really have a very clear solution, a generic solution for all cloud providers, but that's what probably we need to think about and maybe implement this feature. And a lot of users actually have been showing interest in this feature. There is this feature which is federated quota. At this time, we are thinking only about having a simple replication of whatever quota resource is created in Federation, and this for now is sort of doable only using the configuration YAMLs. Like earlier, Maru mentioned that it is now possible to federate a particular resource, a simple federation kind of a thing, without writing any code. Federated daemon set is similar, like, and in fact, whichever resources which are not federated right now, a simple federation, we basically need to enable that by having YAML or by having a configuration which enables that in whatever release that we do of federation. This is a feature. Cluster resources read access from federation is about the user of federation needs to know probably of all the resources which are in the federated clusters. So which way to implement, it's not very clear right now. There are different mechanisms of doing the same, but this also to some extent coincides or overlaps with the federated status feature, where the user is interested in knowing the statuses of different resources in the federated clusters.
Just a quick comment there, Irfan. It's probably clear to some of you, but there's a volunteer from IBM who's stepped up and volunteered to design and implement that. Their name's actually slightly higher up in the document on the right there.
Okay, I'm not sure who's that.
Just scroll up half a page there. Yeah, Guang.
Yeah, this one.
Yeah.
Guang Yalu. Okay. Okay, fine. Okay, the next item is about federating the storage. This is similar to the federated quota and the daemon sets, where we basically need to enable the YAMLs and have some tests around them. There are possibilities of more complicated setup where a federated storage might be needed, but we are leaving that discussion for later. Okay, as part of the alpha release, we actually have a feature where a user can have a DNS discovery, a service, a federated service, and a DNS discovery across clusters of the services which are created in the federated clusters. So there is this requirement, probably by Red Hat, that the same feature, which is a DNS name creation in external DNS server, that feature ideally should be usable externally. Next. Yeah, those were the main features. I think there is some replication here, namespace-based placement, scheduling, same resources across different. So yeah, these were mainly the list of what we actually did discuss yesterday. And we might refine this. We might place these as what we would be doing in as next items, and maybe we'll put some resources or put some issues where we might put help wanted tags also. So people who are interested might have some concrete items to take on to as of now. Okay, yeah, that should be it. So I did put the link to these notes in the chat, and as I mentioned in the multi-cluster SIG sync notes also, the link is available. It's at the it's at the top of the document. Federation Workgroup meeting notes are here. Yeah, that's it from my side. If there is anything else, any of the folks here in the meeting who might want to talk about, we can move on to next. Or if there are questions about what I just described, we can take that also. We have enough time today. Hello, am I still audible?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. I thought I got disconnected. Yeah, I take the silence as there probably are no questions. Is there anything else, folks, any of the guys who are in the meeting today want to talk about?
Not from me.
Okay, in that case, whoever is interested, I'll see you in tomorrow's Federation Workgroup Sync, Wednesday, weekly sync.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Ciao.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.